hopefully, broadcasting the original Control game without the foundation. You can tell I don't own it because it's still telling me the expansion is available. So that'd be an expansion for the game. Anyway, hi Mom, it's Bug. I thought I would record some of these videos for you because you said you wanted something to watch on YouTube and you were bored. And I know I've been gushing to you about all these video games that I love so much. So I thought this might kind of be a fun way to share it. So we're going to start a new version of Control, a new game of Control, which is entertaining because I've already beaten the game once and I was halfway through my second playthrough, and now we're going to start it again. It's going to overwrite my whole save file. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to double check to make sure all of my audio features are set up, and then I'm going to go ahead and start recording. I don't know if it's actually picking it up. It is. I just can't hear myself now, which is weird. All right. So let's start this. We're testing. Cool. Had to test that audio. Have to turn my ringtone down because I'm getting about 1 billion text messages. It's that kind of a day. Hoot Mess on Twitter is blowing up my inbox because she tweets about just about everything. She's the most socially conscious person I know for being from such a small town. Nothing ever happens there, yet she knows everything that's happening in the rest of the world and tells me about it. It's amazing. I don't know how she's my contact for this stuff, but we appreciate Rachel. So this is starting the game all over. I'm going to try to be quiet when there's dialogue being spoken. Turn the subtitles on, so you should be able to see what's being said. But I'll read out some of the text.
Than usual. Can't be helped. You called me. So here I am.
Oh yeah, architecture.
I know I shut you out sometimes. I'm always glad to hear from you. It's just that I get my hopes up. So many times it's led to nothing. I found nothing. It's like we live in a room and there's a poster on the wall. We stare at it and we think that's the whole world. The room and the poster. The picture's something nice. A landscape, a famous person. Like in that movie, what is it called? The prison movie.
I think she means the Shawshank Redemption.
The room's a cell, and the picture, it's different for each of us. It can be beautiful or terrible, but we're all transfixed. But it's all a lie. Something to distract us from the truth. They're lying to us. We're lying to ourselves. The room's not the world. The world is much bigger and much stranger. There's a hole hidden behind that poster that leads to the real world. We all feel safe in that room. But sometimes something crawls out from behind the poster. And the ones that see it happen freak out and try to forget what they saw. I'm here. Why did you bring me here?
And we're in gameplay.
Hello? Anyone here?
So you can already see that it's a pretty cool game. I'm in love with the architecture, which I'm sure I've gushed about repeatedly. You can't leave the building. Like immediately the first thing I'm like, let's leave! No, you can't. You're stuck. That kind of vague crystalline effect, I don't know if you caught that for a second there. That becomes an important marking system in the game, leading you further and further onward. So there are collectibles. Yeah, I just jumped up on the conveyor belt. There's collectibles here. And what I was going to say is I'm going to read these because I don't think it's going to be legible enough through the stream for you to understand it or read it. So I'm just going to speed read these. You can look them up online if you're super interested in them and you're not my mom, but if you're my mom, you probably won't be super interested. So this one, reminder, certain objects are not allowed inside the Bureau. Recent incidents have necessitated an issue a reminder on prohibited materials, including unauthorized weapons, pagers, laptops, smartwatches, smartphones, smart gaming devices, anything smart, number 2 pencils, any objects considered iconic representations of an archetypal concept, i.e. rubber ducks, ketchup bottles. All material under Bureau investigation is to be brought through private entrances. If you see lobby personnel in breach of these policies, notify your supervisor. So the takeaway for that one is just the archetypal objects. Everything else is kind of white noise. All these rooms, I just love the amount of detail they put in. All these rooms have, like, you know, paperwork and handwritten typewriters. This entire universe looks like it's set in the past. All of the equipment you're going to see and all of the hardware and looks kind of like it's stuck in the 1980s. Like, there's pneumatic tubes in the walls and stuff. But you could tell it was saying smart watches are not allowed, smart gaming devices aren't allowed. This is set in 2019 when it came out, in late 2019. It's just, in this building, you're not allowed to have modern electronics. This one's called Bureau Expenditures, Staffing, Surveillance, blank, Data Center Initiative, Construction, blank, blank, Office, Equipment, Janitorial, Mold Removal, HQ livability costs. So they're saying that their largest expenses are staffing, surveillance, and construction, and their smaller are janitorial costs, mold removal, and HQ livability. All these, it's kind of cool. You can see who did it. It's compiled by the FBC Accounting Department and by order of Director Zachariah Trench. So you can see who was in charge when these reports were issued, which becomes a whole thing later. So we're upstairs from the lobby. There's these 3 posters of our 3 most interesting characters, which will eventually load if I get close enough. Yeah! So I've got Casper Darling. This one is just an image of a janitor, our bureau at work. And this one is Director Zachariah Trench, not Dr. Casper Darling, Director Zachariah Trench. So there's a bunch of rooms. The light system basically works. If it's red, it's either locked from the other side or locked with a key card. If it's yellow, you can get in. And I search every room. I have yet to find anything interesting in any of these bathrooms, but there are bathrooms in the whole game, throughout the game, which is entertaining and realistic. Buildings have bathrooms, but so many games don't have bathrooms.
These
that make me
years I've been
smile.
looking for them, and they were hiding in plain sight.
So we're just kind of exploring. If you get real bored, you can look at all these posters, and if you get close enough, you can read them. I mean, the quality of background stuff and gameplay has really improved since I started playing video games. You can actually read all of the details on these. And, like, those photos are actually photos of people uploaded into the game. If you think Jessie, this main character, looks pretty cool and realistic, that's because she's modeled after an actual actress who did a shit ton of motion capture for the character. There's a bunch of subtle stuff in here that's weird. This is what I was talking about earlier. I know I talked to you about all of the food is like the Repo Man brews, where it just says pistachios. And at first you're like, that's really awkward, but turns out if you can't have archetypal objects, you can't really have advertisements either, can you? So I'm going around and I'm picking up all these files just to have them. So this is this is a really redacted file. Attention all blank, blank a shark in his blank, although secure blank, permission to blank, following basic protocol blank, shoot to kill blank. Good luck. I don't know what that is. I think later on you hear more about a shark, but that one's pretty entertaining. So that light just means the building's under lockdown. Here's another document. So you're kind of getting a backstory of what's going on in the game. So prohibited items, there was a shark, things get redacted. This is about R4 interdepartmental claims. It's complete bureaucracy, this particular one. It's saying, you know, you have to get your R4 report in, and if you think you're exempt, to go to your manager. Which honestly isn't important for the gameplay, but it is important because it sets a tone for the game, and it tells you what kind of bureaucratic nonsense is going on here. This office has nothing, and oh look, there's our janitor. Let's go see what he has to say.
Excuse me.
There you are. You are here about the job.
janitor's assistant. You need to go to the interview. Go that way to the elevator.
Thanks. Elevator that way. Got it.
Very good. I'm Ahti, the janitor, by the way. You'll work for me. You can say I sent you. If they don't hire you, then you are relevant. There be work for the axe. Take them behind the sauna, jumalauta.
I've done enough night shift loner jobs to know it makes us come off weird. Ahti the janitor is a friendly face in my book.
Better than somebody with no face at all. Think about it. No face.
But that said, I know what you're thinking. If there's an axe murderer around, that's him.
So there's some subtle stuff there. He responded to your thought about a friendly face, which weirded me out the first time. And he's speaking Finnish when he's not speaking English. So I don't know if you noticed what happened here, but we are still above that lobby. I got so turned around and confused the first time I played this game because I didn't realize what the game was doing. We came in through those doors, we came up that stairwell, and that elevator wasn't fucking there. That elevator was a photo of Ahti the janitor. I showed you there was Casper and Ahti and Trench, and this used to be a photo of the janitor. The game continuously does this, and my first playthrough, I was so confused. I kept re-exploring areas over and over.
The poster. I was 11 years old the first time I saw behind the poster. They told me I imagined it. I've been trying to pull it down ever since. Will you help?
So here's the very pretty opening. So Courtney Hope is playing the main character, Jessie. Not that you care. It's so beautiful. Red LEDs will give me, like, anxiety for the rest of my life now, because that color just knee-jerk reaction makes me want to shoot things, but that's fine. It's worth it. But yeah, you can see from what we're looking at, like, everything's pen and paper, all the typewritten is typewriters if it's, you know, written down. All the computer monitors are old CRT monitors. There's no flat screens in here. And as you explore the bureau offices, it just continues like that.
You know what's on my mind. My baby brother, Dylan. 17 years since the men of this bureau took him.
That number becomes recurring in Remedy games, 665. So this is interesting. This particular room is another one that shifts later in the game. I'll point it out when it does, but that's the elevator up from the lobby, and that's a wall, and that's a wall. Later on, those are not walls, and that's not an elevator. Very confusing. So this is telling me that it's a locked door, and that I need a security code 1 to get in. This one, however, is an open door, and I can go poke around. I don't think there's anything interesting in most of these rooms. Just kind of telling me, per the computer screens, stuff has gone wrong. HRA protocol activated by head of research, containment breaches detected, multiple building shifts, lockdown in effect. So things have hit the fan, basically. There's offices all through here. I'm not going to deep dive too hard into all of these, but I might just run through them to check for items occasionally. And here's another file. So Trench, do not disturb. Barbara, I'm not to be disturbed. Cancel all my appointments for the day for the rest of the week. I can't trust them, Barbara. Not a single one. Trench. So Trench, as you might remember, is the head of the Federal Bureau of Control, which we only learned because we saw it on his poster. And that was a gunshot. So, all of these signs are readable if you get close enough. Office of the Director, Zachariah Trench. And let's go on in.
Shit. Shit.
I really love that reaction. It's just like, oh, this is not a good scene to walk in on.
Murder weapon? Really?
So yeah, if you can see, there's that shifting crystalline pointing to the gun on the floor next to Trench's dead body. So let's pick up the murder weapon. Yeah, that's a dead dude. Testing, testing. We are broadcasting from the Pyramid Other. Only the director can wield the gun/sword/intentionally left blank. Your application will be processed.
And there goes the poster.
Objects of power can cause or be results of AWE's altered world
This is our
events,
first of the
intrusions
Cold War
upon the
era
perceived
style
reality.
videos
Now,
that I love.
the service weapon is, of course, a prime example of an OOP, a very powerful one. Ingrained in the Bureau's DNA, a key component in our prime candidate program. Come out of that Russian roulette a winner and you're it.
Only the director can bind the service weapon and live/die. This is your ritual/challenge. You must be chosen to be the chosen one.
Look at this place. Where am I?
Yeah, the first time I saw this, I was like, well, that's a cool texture. All right. So, you can pretty much just run and walk. Bubblegum/Polaroid. All/none of the above. These are the concepts/tattoos we see in your minds. The service weapon. It has many forms, like the house/prison you occupy. So I'm going to read the board messages because you're hearing audio probably associated with it, but you can't make it out. It's because the board isn't speaking in English or anything that can be heard. It's just gibberish, noise, static. So I will continue to read those. I think I turned off the tutorials on these, so it shouldn't be saying how to do this, but it's a very pretty gun. You only get to see it a couple times in the game, like this clearly. The rest of the time it's in flux. Alright.
Okay, now I have a gun.
And that's a big pyramid in the distance. So, we're gonna run along. And we're gonna shoot shit. I mean, it's a first-person shooter. What did you expect? So, it does run out of ammo. I don't know if you saw that, but there's an ammo bar underneath my crosshair for white shots. When it goes through all of them, it turns orange, and I have to wait for the gun to basically recreate ammo. So it has infinite ammunition, it's just I can only use so many shots at a time. And the number of shots depends on the type of gun I'm holding. So, this is actually kind of challenging because I keep forgetting that I don't have the ability to do all the things I used to be able to do in my, completed version of the game. You can hit people in the face though, I'm good at that. So these guys, I don't know if you can really see them clearly, but they're like just made of stone to look humanoid. They're pretty bad at being humanoid too. It's just something that this area has created in order to give them something to fight, basically. And they do make ones with guns! So that's fun. The little blue dots you're seeing on the ground are actually health, so the enemies drop those. They're like tiny little invisible molecules of health, and I pick them back up, and you can see my health bars in the lower left-hand corner. So, anytime basically you see this string of black dots in the astral plane, you're in the astral plane right now, that's like your exit. So you/we wield the gun/you. The board appoints you. Congratulations, director.
Something's coming. This threat. An attack. Duty as director. Keep the Bureau safe.
Did you hear that? It's the dead man. Right after the pyramid spoke to me, and it was just noise, and I understood every word. And this gun's alive. You know what? I'm happy. Happy to be here.
I like that we established really early on that
Things have
our
quieted
main
down
character,
outside.
Jessie, is a little weird.
Safe to go?
Because she's like, there's a dead guy, and my gun's a living thing, and I'm talking to shadow demon things in another dimension. Wow, what a beautiful fucking day! I'm like, yeah, Jessie, you might be a little weird. You might be a little messed up. The death of Trench is pretty grisly, but you don't get to see this guy too much throughout the rest of the game, obviously, seeing as he's dead. So it's always kind of interesting to look around his office and see what he has that, you know, might not be here next time, for example. Like, he has a liquor table, and I think that goes away later. So, this is why red light's freaking out now. So, these guys have bad news.
You can't let this happen. 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 You stopped it. You... Thank you. That was... horror.
So there's a mix in here, I don't know if you saw it in there, of live action and then of CG captured to look like live action. So I'm out of ammo, so I just have to stand here like a ninny until it comes back. And then I always run through that field of their health. So the enemies just vaporize when you kill them. Takes depending on the person, a second, and that is the coolest effect. Like, the visuals in this game are so cool. So, that is where our elevator used to be, and it's not there. And I said, that's a wall and that's a wall. Well, that's not a flippin' wall anymore, is it? That's not a wall. And also, this was a picture of Trench. Now it's a picture of me. This place is flippin' weird. I love it. Nothing's safe. Like, there's no place where you can go and trust it to be the exact same forever.
Secure line of communication. Guidance. Reach the hotline.
Alright. So, these guys are, luckily, pretty easy to see with the glowing from the health bars. You can turn that off if you want to make the game harder, but I obviously didn't because I'm just playing this game just to play it. I don't really care about how difficult it is right now. But trust me, after I beat this the first time, I'm going to go through and play it on hard mode again, because it's just, there's so much replayability in this game. Oh look, another bathroom! See, I told you, I appreciate the addition of bathrooms. Like Star Trek, you remember there was only one bathroom on the entirety of the Enterprise, and everybody thought it was ridiculous? Well, there's multiple bathrooms here, because they're real people. It's okay. It lends the entire building an air of reality. Also, so this is kind of your first introduction to this megalithic architecture from this game, and I absolutely adore it. It's these giant cement slabs and kind of hanging cement objects. Like, this whole area here feels like it's precariously balanced and crushing down on these desks. Even though it's a perfectly tall ceiling, because of the open space around it, it just feels so oppressive and malevolent. These are like shelter areas, and you see these throughout the game. They're meant to be emergency shelters in case something like this happens. Obviously, whatever happened, the shelter isn't working. Not really saving anybody right now. Theoretically, I think later in the game they say some people, like, we're safe because they were in the shelter, and I'm like, I don't know about that. So this one says, Marshall AWE investigations. From someone called Keenum to H. Marshall. Subject, another dead. We checked or suspected AWE in Duluth. It wasn't anything, just like the house fire before this and the malfunctioning clothes dryer before that. My team's getting pretty sick of duds. We need to find a better way to sort the fake AWEs from the real thing, or you need to rotate the field agents. Anyway, we're en route to Sherman Ranch. Next one on the list. Hope it's livelier there. Special Agent Keenum. So it's basically him reporting to his boss. So we do have multimedia now, which means that you can watch the full videos. So this is going to be the video that we saw just a second ago, and I'm not going to play it through. But the video that we saw just a second ago in clips and pieces, we saw somebody was watching this, and there was a little bit of an explanation about the service weapon. You can go back and watch these at any time. I'm not going to include them for this one because, honest to God, you're not that interested. And there's plenty of good videos. You can actually search all Casper Darling presentations, all Zachariah Trench conversations for any of the characters. So if you're not Mom and that is interesting to you, you can just go ahead and search that, and there's some great ones. And if I think about it, I will edit this video and include links to those because having them all in one place is really nice. Additionally, what we have here is a explanation page on the service weapon. So we picked up the service weapon and now we have a gun, and it's telling us about that. So it says, containment, no unique procedures required. Description, the object's form is variable. When bound, the object allows para-utilians to blank. This object must be bound by individuals seeking the role of blank. The object will determine whether blank. If rejected, the applicant is terminated. The process is dictated by the blank, although the criteria is unknown. Background, the object was discovered in the oldest house in the room that is now used as the director's office. The popular hypothesis, blank, many forms throughout history, blank, Mjolnir, Excalibur, Varunastra, probably mispronouncing that, all weapons at blank of their wielders. If objects of power that converge into forces based on collective subconscious, then this may be the original manifestation of that event. If that's the case, blank. See Dr. Darling presentation 11.1 for more details, which actually, entertainingly, if you go back to that video, is properly listed as 11.1. So, this, once you've played the game through, you can tell what the blanks are pretty much. So when bound, this object allows the para-utilians to, lead the house. This object can only be bound by individuals seeking the role of director. The object will determine whether or not they're eligible for director. If rejected, the applicant is terminated. The process is dictated by the board. The board is that giant black pyramid we saw earlier. And then, separate from that, those are files on objects in the game, basically things that we've encountered, run into, and used. Then we have a research and records section where it tells us about enemies we've run into. So, this is kind of entertaining. This is compiled by Emily Pope, who's a character we haven't met yet, on behalf of director Jesse Faden, who is us. So, somehow she wrote the report before we even knew she existed, or before she knew we existed, but whatever, we'll just go with it. So this is an explanation of basically the Hiss-corrupted security guards. We don't even know that the bad guys are called Hiss yet, but again, we're just going to go with it. So it's basically saying how to fight them, and it's a little bit of, why are they like this? Kind of Emily trying to figure out what they're doing. There's also your expenditures that we're going to head into, and occasionally you'll get a collectible item like this, Zachariah Trench, so it's just a photo of your predecessor. So all of those are in there. I'm only going to read the ones that I think are relevant and interesting, and not all of them from here on out. Most of these offices are pretty big and empty, but there's hidden notes throughout them, so you can kind of run around and see what they have. In addition to the tape files or video files and typewritten pages, there's audio files like this one.
Reminder, if you experience an unanticipated building shift, follow these simple steps. 1. Search the room for any altered items or objects of power. 2. Carry the altered item or object of power to the nearest safe room. 3. Wait for Bureau staff to find you and the object. If there are no altered items or objects of power in the vicinity, then reach your supervisor via the nearest intercom and await further instructions. Thank you for your attention.
Sounds super useful, right? Like, if something goes wrong and things are weird, just good luck. Good luck! I'm like, oh yeah, I trust these people. Here's another record. Just going over the meeting minutes. Not useful. The multimedia, that audio file is now available. Multimedia, and oh snap, look, there's different gendered bathrooms. I went to the men's room last time. This is the women's room. Fucking, I love the bathrooms in this game. I know it's so stupid, but the fact that they included them makes me so happy. So, I think I want to go this way. I came from the director's office, so now I'm headed this direction. Yeah, this looks terrible.
The hissing sound that tried to invade me earlier. The hiss. Burrowing into everything in this place. Is the hiss your enemy? Alright, it's our enemy.
She looks not great, right?
That babble's contagious. It burrows in like an infuriating melody that makes you hum it over and over.
So this is the first big fight scene, and I'm going to be honest, I normally die. So I'm going to start the fight scene by shooting these guys, just to up my odds, because man, I'm not good at this particular fight. I don't know why. Whoa! See, grenades! Grenades are why I'm not good at this fight. Throw a flipping grenade at me, you asshole. So the only way to get down is to jump down. There's no way to actually, like, walk down the stairs. You just have to throw yourself into this arena with these chuckleheads, and then hope you kill them. Alright, and he's bad news, man. He's the one I normally die to. So he's just a higher level enemy, and the only reason you know that is because he has a name over him. Named enemies are generally more difficult in this game. Oh, I killed him. Fuck yeah.
Must cleanse control
Okay.
points.
Let me pick up that thing. That's like a bonus. Oh, this is a big black pyramid hanging above the ceiling. This always gives me, like, not claustrophobia. I'm sure there's a word for just the feeling of fear of being crushed.
What does that mean? Help me fix it.
Let's find out. So it says press square, so we press square and we cleanse the control point, whatever the hell that means. This is the coolest shit in the whole game, man. The architecture is just like, I'm gonna do something different now. I love it. It's so cool. The room just completely changed.
You did it.
So we came in from over there, and remember there was no stairwells down and stuff. It's because they were all blocked off. And if we go back up there, I'm talking over important parts, but I don't care. If you go back up there, that's the door I just came through. This is the lady I said wasn't looking good, and all of that was crowded shut. And now it's open. So the entire level changes. The entire room that you're in changes depending on where you are in the game and what you've done in the game.
Please, talk to me.
This is Pope.
We saw you deal with the compromised agents.
Aw. The longer you wait, the more they talk generally, but...
I can't tell you how happy I am to talk to somebody sane.
The feeling's mutual. Yeah, I'm Pope, Emily Pope, Dr. Darling's assistant.
My turn. Should I lie?
Jesse Faden. I'm just visiting.
I should have lied.
Oh, shit. You're the new director. Hold on. We're coming out.
It's the other reason I love Jessie. Immediately she's like, lying was probably better. Fuck.
Director Faden.
Call me Jesse.
Okay, Jesse. I'm Emily. Look, somehow this hostile force, this
Hiss?
that works. Somehow the hiss managed to infiltrate the building without any warning.
And just like that, my name for it is official. The hiss. Like the sound of poison gas leaking in.
We're in full lockdown. It seems to have spread everywhere and to everyone not protected by an HRA. And, extraordinarily, you. You are the director, and that makes you special by definition. Trench is no longer the director, obviously. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. This whole situation is just a lot.
Trench is dead. Shot.
Ah.
I found his body. And the gun.
Do I tell her it looked like a suicide?
The service weapon.
Also, and this can sound crazy, but he keeps appearing to me. Saying things. It's hard to make out, but he told me to cleanse the control point. Push the hiss out. The whole room shifted around.
I love that shot. That's just the greatest shot.
And you entered the building when it was already in the lockdown, before you became the new director? How?
I'm not ready to tell her about you yet.
A janitor let me in.
I love it.
That's a true
This
thing.
is fucking unbelievable. I can't even... Look, Jesse, I have a million questions, and you probably have a million more.
Like, do you know my brother Dylan? Not yet.
But there's something I need to ask you to do first.
So she has a brother.
If you can cleanse a control point, then you can maybe cure those infected or possessed by the hiss. Because if that's possible, our options are very different.
Emily Pope. I don't know her, but I like her already. She's the opposite of the faceless agency I've blamed for what happened to me for so long.
So she has
But
a
I can't
mysterious
trust her yet.
past.
Or rather, the bureau she's a part of.
Yes. I can try.
I'm speaking for you, of course. We can try it together.
So as you probably picked up,
Okay.
that little
with
crystalline
me?
glow blue
did it
thing that
before.
keeps happening.
Push the
She's
hiss
talking to
out.
that. She's not talking to you as the player, but you're also kind of playing as that crystalline glow thing. There's kind of a weird in between. I don't know if I'm controlling Jesse or if I'm Polaris. It doesn't matter. But that crystalline blue thing ends up being called Polaris later on. So this poor lady is our test subject. We're going to see if we can cure her.
Come on!
And not so much with the curing her. It was a nice thought.
It didn't work. The hiss has burrowed too deep. Ripping it out rips them apart.
So, Emily comes up
Jesse,
here.
over here. We need to make...
I can't cleanse them.
I saw. It was worth a shot. Thank you, Director. Jesse.
I'm gonna tell her why I'm here.
So now we get some plot
I'll risk it.
exposition.
Listen, the Bureau was involved in an incident in my hometown, Ordinary, 17 years ago.
Worst name for a town ever.
The Bureau came in and covered the whole thing up. I've been looking for this place for a long time.
That's enough. Maybe that's too much already. I can't tell her about Dylan and the rest yet.
I've seen mentions of an Altered World event case dealing with Ordinary. You were at Ground Zero as a child? It was one of the big ones, and before my time. And very classified. I can try to dig out some old files for you. My boss, Casper Darling, would know, but he's missing. I think he knew this was coming, or suspected. He came up with the HRAs, the Hadron Resonance Amplifiers. I think they're what saved us. Or a few of us. And Director Trench would know.
Trench, the ghost, or whatever he is, he mentioned
I love
something
her face
called
there.
the hotline.
Ghost thing.
Said I should find it.
It's another object of power, like the gun, an old Bakelite telephone.
Already
A
untold.
direct line of communication between the director and the board. Maybe he can talk to you more clearly through that. I mean, Trench has years and years of experience. He might know how to destroy the hiss.
Where is the hotline?
It's kept in the communications department through the mailroom. It's part of this sector, so we can access it even with the lockdown in place.
How convenient.
We'll get the door open for you.
Okay, that's my next stop.
That's Tomasi's department. He's the head of communications. I don't think he had an HRA. He kind of made a point about not wearing one earlier. Keep an eye out.
Turns out Tomasi was kind of an asshole.
They call me the director. But that's not me. I'm not a director type. I'm not a leader. Why am I here? I think you already know. Yes, I came for my brother, but there are other reasons too. I said I was looking for answers, but I might never understand them. I'm not looking for proof. This is already it. More than enough. No matter what they told me all those years, I know
So
it's real now.
pretty. The shots are so
I
pretty.
didn't imagine this. I want to be a part of this world.
She wants
What
adventure.
scares me shitless is that I finally found it. Only to see the hiss destroy it all.
So, immediately, like, the first things you get told are the people who would have the answers, one of them's missing and the other one's dead. Trench is dead, and you might be able to get a hold of him through the hotline, which is this telephone we're zooming in on, but he's still dead, so, like, how much use can he possibly be? And the other person who might have the answers is Pope's boss, Darling, who is missing, and nobody knows where he went. And that becomes sort of a theme for the rest of the game.
Anything you want to know. There are no stupid questions.
So, there's a
The
bunch
door
of
to the
lore.
comms department is just outside the boardroom back in the lobby. They should have gotten it open by now.
There's a bunch of lore in here that I
Follow?
can go into, but I don't necessarily
The
have to.
hotline should be
I'm
in the
probably not
communications
going
department.
to. You can sit down and talk to Pope at any time and ask her questions about the oldest house, Director Trench, objects of power, the HRAs, all that stuff. I'm probably not going to go into most of that because unless you say you're super interested, I don't think it's necessary to get into all of it. But every one of them is a conversation, and she explains something about that subject. If you don't have the
Thanks,
conversation,
Emily.
you don't have the data.
I'm
And
sure
unlike
I'll
the
have more
files,
questions
it's not like you can refer back to it.
Just let
If
me
you don't have
know.
the conversation with Pope, you just never get to find out that information. So, this is the boardroom, and it's kind of cool. As the game progresses, this room gets filled with files and paperwork. Pope does more and more research, and she ends up with whiteboards in here and boxes of data and all this stuff. Kind of becomes her headquarters for most of the game. every time I touch one of these control points, and there's multiple in the game, I can fast travel to other control points, but it also restores my health, and it just does like a soft save of the game. So if I die, I'll start back here with whatever happened last. So we've got a couple agents wandering around, which we're happy about. That means that not everyone's dead. You can see there's a hole upstairs to explore, and then the crystalline being presence is calling me downstairs. And there are these boxes. I think I might have run into one of these already. You can open them, and they have like an object or item in them that's useful to you. So it said house memory. I can go ahead and open and see what that is. And these are like entertaining. They're basically materials. It's the equivalent of in other video games. You know, you might collect scrap metal to make spare weapons or ammunition for a gun. In this game, same basic concept. You collect these spare materials, but the materials are conceptual materials. So it's like an undefined reading, a memory, a trend, but you use them to create stuff. I can track what my missions are, so it tells me what my completed missions were and what my incompleted missions were, and what my current one is and how to get to it. And then I can always go to my loadout and decide on modifications for my gun and my personal mods, which are basically like getting extra health, or this one's extra health, this one's faster health pickup. So I'm going to do that. And I think my cat is not feeling well, so that sucks. But anyway, so we're going to continue on. I'm just going to do a quick loop of the top part of this area. If we go through here, I think this is just offices. Yeah, this is just a big empty office right now with nothing in it, except for my picture, weirdly, right? Because I'm the director now. More offices. Oh, more files. I love the collectibles. Shifted bathroom complaint. I think it's here. And it's literally just like, the bathroom has been missing. The building keeps shifting, and it shifted the bathroom, and now nobody has a place to pee. So we need that to be fixed. And then there's a portrait of Trench. So we have the picture of Trench, we have the portrait of Trench. Literally, this one's just a digital painting that somebody did for their thing, and this is an actual photograph of the actor who plays the character Trench. It's interesting how they kind of mix the digital and physical capture for the actors together. I think it's really impressive. Almost all of the characters you see both. Well, I guess it's not true. You see both for Jesse. You see both for Trench. You don't see many of the other characters in physical format except for Darling, who you never see an in-game model of, which is weird. So we're going through this way. Oh, there's another one of those boxes.
There it is again. A welcome message.
Alright. So you can come over here and it'll give you the subtitles for what's being played on the speakers. I could listen to that for a while because it's really fun. It's weird. But I don't know if you remember, I made you read Annihilation. There was that section in Annihilation where she's reading the text. This really reminds me of that. Like this text is a repeating cycle of words that all of the hiss are actually saying. So all those floating people you've been seeing around the rooms, they're saying this really quietly, and it becomes a background noise for the entire game. The reason you saw the word Tomasi is because the head of communications department, Tomasi, is saying them right now too. Oh, somebody fucking saw me, I guess. Let's shoot them full! And bite me. I love the combat in this game. Sorry, going back. There was a collectible I wanted to get over here. So this is just like some random thing, a house memory or something, and here's another collectible. Travel costs. Most of these I'm not going to open. You know, I've just decided that because it doesn't matter. You don't care about travel costs. So this place is all fucking barricaded. This is kind of a weird thing. It looks scary, and I'm actually taking low-grade damage by walking towards it.
Overpowering here.
So that's going to be a thing you can tell later on.
With you on that.
Tomasi is shouting that hiss incantation. He is just like not happy. So they said Tomasi has had a communication when he wasn't wearing an HRA. So what it's saying, we're hearing Tomasi. Yeah, that definitely means the hiss got him. This section. Fuck you guys. I don't want to be caught in a crossfire here. This section's fun. But these Hiss soldiers aren't necessarily saying the Hiss incantation, but all the floating guys are, and Tomasi is, and I think a couple other characters end up repeating it throughout the game. It's always the same words, which is weird. And I like it like Annihilation. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, or if it does mean something, it might only mean something to one person. This is a good room. This is a good room. Look at that shit. Look at that. And it's light up there. It's this repeating pattern. And it's just, it's such a good room. So you can kind of tell that something is wrong here, because these look like they should be stairwells, but they're all full of bricks. Basically what you're seeing here is when a control point, because there's a control point back there surrounded by the satellites, when a control point is infected by the Hiss, the entire room around it shifts to this weird bricky architecture where it's just chunk of cement getting in the way. Once you cleanse the control point, like we did in Central Executive, it goes back to normal. So this is Dead Letters, and Dead Letters is a little different. Dead Letters actually has letters that the Bureau has collected from basically people who might have an Altered Worlds event. And this one's, they're all weirdos writing into the FBC, basically, the FBC's Federal Bureau of Control. And this one's like, I had a dream that I built the thing I saw in my dream, a machine that will contain God, but not the God you know or the ones anyone knows, a new God. And it goes on. So those are kind of interesting, weird one-offs that are just fun, weird shit that somebody had to write for the game. This room, however, I need to kill a bunch of these guys so I can cleanse that control point so that I can move forward and get to the hotline. In case you forgot my goal. My goal is still to get to the hotline so I can understand what the hell that dead guy Trench is saying to me. Because right now, I don't understand him clearly yet. I am out of air. And you die too. Cool, cool, cool. Everybody dead. Everybody dead. So if I don't shoot for a couple seconds, it does replenish my ammo. So if I can get little bursts off and then let it replenish, that's better than trying to unload the whole clip. So here I can cleanse the control point, and you'll see what I mean about the bricks. The entire room is going to shift. So it goes from this cool, weird, bricky architecture, and it just back to its original outlook. But it's cool, because the building's brutalist architecture before or after the shift. Like, either way, it's the most amazing architecture. I absolutely love this particular room. It's really just iconic for the game. And now, as you can see, these hallways are open. And this is what I was describing, where those hallways were blocked off. Like, it was all dark, but you could see there were bricks there, so I couldn't get through there. And this is where I picked up that file. Now I can get right through. And this room, walking into it with the corruption gone, is just so beautiful. Also, I thought it was interesting that it went from light to dark. Like, it was all red, and the ceiling was white, and now it's all lit, but the ceiling is black. So there's a bunch of collectibles in these rooms. Little objects for me to use. Like that, undefined readings and whatnot. I think this is no, this is an office. I thought it was a bathroom. Here is dead presidents. It's a letter about, let's see, what's it going to say? A letter about dead presidents. I'm being contacted by the past presidents of the United States of America. They appear as spirit guides, giving me their wisdom. John Adams keeps saying that I need to fix America, but I can't really understand him. They all have lots of opinions. So that's a thing. Let's go over here. There was another room over here we can get into. And I think one of these has a weird, interesting video file. Oh, book club. So this is a recurring thing. There's apparently a book club somewhere in the FBC, and they're all reading a book called Unless You, and they have to get their reviews in by Monday. So you find all these different reviews of the same book, Unless You, and each one it's like they're describing a completely different book. So this is fun. This is a TV, right? And you have to interact with it to get it to play, which I think is interesting, because most of the video and audio in the game, you have to interact with them to get them to play, except for the presentations from Dr. Darling. Those autoplay, which is weird. Could be, you could argue, that it's because they're important, so they have to autoplay so you don't possibly miss them. But you can actually walk past them in certain parts of the game. This, you could walk past and not get, and if you don't press square, you're not going to get to see it. So this is some creepy stuff that will remind you why you like animation. I'm not even going to try to interpret what they're singing. Yeah, that's way creepier. And then she turns to look at the camera. So, this is originally presented without interpretation. You have no idea why the hell those things are playing. You're just like kind of quietly freaked out by them if you're me. But later on you find out that they're actually intended for kids. Someone thought this would be a brilliant way to communicate with children. It'll be appealing. Kids like animation. So this is just a letter from someone from P. Bartwell to Zachariah Trench, the dead guy, saying, "Awesome, I'm so glad you're allowing me to make this dead letter department." Which is, just like I said, flavor text. Again, a lot of this stuff, it's not that important as far as plot goes, but it does reinforce the tone of bureaucracy. This place is a ginormous bureaucracy. And they're getting these letters like, "Singing fish" is the letter that I just picked up. "I called the police, but they never came to my house. I got a problem and you gotta send folks to fix it. I got my wife one of them singing fish on the walls. It's not a real fish. It sings when you hit a button, but it's got the devil in it. It flies around at night and sings devil songs. Says a lot of cuss words. The devil got in my house because of the fish, and you gotta come handle it. My wife is real upset. When can you come?" I'm like, man, that guy's from my hometown. So, anyway, we were exploring. We opened up the control point. So generally speaking, whenever I get lost in this game, I go back out to where the control point or object was. This is, okay, subtle and cool. I love this fact. You see this flat section next to the stairwell? So like the stairs, you can walk up them, but there's also this ramp. It's for dollies. I know this is stupid, but I love that this game includes that. It's so you can get a hand cart up the stairs, because every place in this building has to be connected somehow, and you have to be able to transport stuff. So you have to transport it by dolly. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right?
Communications. We're on the right track.
So I can go up here if I want to, and you can see more floating people. And there's a box. But you'll notice this doorway does not look functional. This becomes a thing. These are actually called, these zigzag sections are made of rock, literally called black rock, which always makes me smile, being a native Nevadan. And the doorways are sealed shut with black rock. So it becomes kind of a prohibitive way of preventing you from moving about the building as easily as maybe you might, which is a good thing, because we don't necessarily want you to be able to just go from point A to point B without going through some hassle first. And this looks like a good sign, right? Blood puddles, blood trails. This is great. Also, you can't get there fast enough to save him, unfortunately. Yeah, he just got hit in the face with a pneumatic pipe from that thing.
Like the hiss have latched onto
and
it. We need to cleanse
if I
it.
hold still long enough, it'll start shooting him at me too. So I can go get that object of power right now, and I think I'm actually going to. Objects of power are items that have been imbued with basically supernatural powers. They call them preternatural powers in this game. Preternatural powers that are basically, like I said, archetypal objects. So for whatever reason, this object is like the archetype of something. And again, you notice, see those are the dolly tracks? So you can get hand carts up the stairwell. So there's two ways to get to this. The right way is to go up those stairs and across that bridge and over there and then down and around. The wrong way is to cheat the system and try to jump up on this ladder because you're lazy that you don't want to do the hard way. And I'm going to do it the wrong way because I'm lazy. So this is a floppy disk. 5.5-inch floppy disk. And it's the first object of power you run into. The floppy disk / nuke can be bound to gain launch / telekinesis. Teach us to believe, Director.
It's harder to hear you when I'm here. It's like the channel's been changed.
She says it's harder to hear you when I'm
The board's
here.
in charge here. They're pyramids in the Bureau seal. Are they really the ones pulling the strings? I'm not their director. I'm no one's director.
So now I can do this, which just it's a good thing I get that early on in the game because I become so reliant on that throughout the game. But so she said it's harder to hear you. She's talking to that weird blue crystalline glow that I told you we refer to later as Polaris. And that should be your first hint. It's harder to hear Polaris here because the board's in charge. Well, that means that the board and Polaris might be something similar in my opinion. So that kind of gives you a hint that whatever the board is, it's not completely dissimilar from things you've encountered in the past, basically. You've run into something like this before. I love the launch ability. It makes fighting so much better. It makes it so much faster, and in between, when you run out of ammo, you just grab something and shoot them in the face with it. And try not to fall off ledges while you do it. Oh, you can see you there, buddy, pal, friend. The hiss / noise is burrowing into our astral plane / secret base. You must stop / mute them, Director. And normally, you get closer and closer to this black pyramid. That's the board. That's like the object of them. The floppy disk is now bound / delivered. The hiss / antagonist is seeking our astral plane.
There you are. You were gone. Cut off. I got it. Just like you wanted, right? This will help me fight the hiss.
I don't know what those black things are. Like, the red things are pneumatic tubes. The black things are what? I don't know. Tube cleaners? I have no idea. So when I launch things, it picks up something at random nearby, unless I'm looking at something or think to pick up a rocket. I was just hitting the face with a rocket. That's what happened there, by the way. In case you were curious as to how that had gone wrong. I'm taking the long way down because it does give me more time to pace myself through these enemies and kill them. So I can, at some point later, pick up their rockets from midair as they're launching at me, but I don't think I have that power anymore. I don't really want to test it by getting in between a rocket and a wall or anything like that. So all these environments are pretty much destructible. Like, almost everything is destructible. The fences are generally destructible. If I hit this enough, it'll just decay. Which is cool, because it means you feel like you're really, like, interactive and in the game. But it's also not cool, because it means if you're hiding from somebody with a rocket launcher, or if you're hiding from an explosive tank, you can't rely on a fence. It might not be there. I'm just gonna go pick up some help. Oh, that was it. Okay, that's fine. I can get by on this. This is a level 1 door, and I don't even have level 1 security access. So I'm gonna have to come back for that. And you see this kind of miasma wall. I don't know if you can see it this time really clearly. But until I kill all the enemies in a section, those walls will prevent me from continuing forward. So we came from that direction. We got distracted by the poor dude who got hit in the face by a pneumatic tube. I'm just gonna check out over here. There's another shelter. See what's in there. Sometimes this has files, sometimes this has items. This one's an item 1. And it looks like a file 2. Oh joy. Book Club Samson. Okay, so here's our first book report. So, let's go down to Book Club Samson. So, he's talking about it's a space opera. The title's vague and stupid. The best part was the space battles. And then, when you run into the next guy who reads the book, he's talking about it like it's a young adult romance. I think it's so funny. You're like, I don't know what the book's about, but I'm curious.
Emily said that the hotline can be reached through the mailroom.
These are all blocked off. And I'm just exploring these rooms. We don't have to go in here, but this is the mail room for sorting dead letters. Let's open this. So this is an interesting one. So Tomasi's the guy, he's the head of communications that Pope mentioned, and he was saying that Pope said that he wasn't wearing a HRA, which was the protective thing that's preventing them from being infected by the hiss, right? So this reads, national news sites have begun publishing a story about the polar bear attack on an Alaskan town. You know I don't like to boast, but claiming the family was killed by a migrating polar bear desperate for food because their ecosystem is being ruined by global warming was a stroke of genius, using current ecological concerns to make the public much less likely to blank. So, another AWE behind us, and the public is none the wiser. Well done, everyone. It was a strong campaign and perfectly executed. This doesn't mean we can stop monitoring blank, blank, and blank for any off-message opinions, but it looks like we're in the clear. Tomasi out. I love how much character you get from that letter. You're just like, he's just like, I'm a genius. We had such a great job. Everybody did a great job. Tomasi out. Like, he just sounds like a douchebag, so when later on you have to kill him, I'm fine with it. He sounds like a douchebag. I don't think I would have liked him before the hiss showed up at all. So we're going this way then. And you can hear it's getting louder and louder. So this room's a little bit confusing to me the first time I came through. There's a back wall, things are blocked off. There's some bathrooms in here that are real dark, but don't have anything interesting going on that I'm aware of. Still, like I said, I like bathrooms. And here's another control point. So this control point, you can tell this room's not infected, but the control points in these situations act kind of as like a fast travel system and a way to save your progress. So I can get to this control point, press square, and now, if I want to travel around, I select square to get the fast travel menu, I go to fast travel, and I can go between the 3 control points I've been to. So if I want to go back and bug Emily about something, I can do that right now. I don't want to bug Emily, though. She doesn't need to be bothered. This is a dead dude, and he has my level 1 security clearance. Feel bad looting a corpse, but not that bad. So I'm going to go upstairs. Oh, look, another shelter. Always check the shelters. Things sometimes have cool shit in them. This one, another item. So that's like a closet. It doesn't actually open in any of the rooms. Oh, this is a radio. I can turn on the radio. And it plays music. That's about it. That's all that's in this one. And let's see, up here, is there anything interesting going on? Oh, this is an interesting one. So, we have another staffer here with another security card in case I didn't pick up the first one, I guess. So you can run into it in more than one place. This is an audio file.
You're listening to America Overnight, mystifying the airwaves for more than 29 years. Thank you for staying up with us. Ghosts. We've had many callers over the years tell us of hauntings, voices, and other phantasmagorical phenomena. Today, friend of the show, Dr. Quincy Reagan, tells his story. Quincy, thanks. This is something I experienced recently while staying at the Chili Pines Motel in Macon for last year's Suspicion Comp. I was in room 47. The night manager, an avid listener of the program, insisted I take this particular room. Now, the manager explained that years back, the body of a man was discovered under the bed, inside that wooden border that motel beds tend to have. And the body had been there a week, he said. Guests had stayed there, sleeping with the corpse a foot below them. They only found the body when housekeepers complained about the smell. Hauntings have been reported in room 47 ever since. I happily took the room. I fell asleep pretty quick, checking under the bed first, of course. No ghosts visited me, no chilly spots or flickering lights. But when I woke up, I found myself under the bed. It was dark and stiflingly hot. Luckily, I was able to push the mattress off and crawl out before I suffocated. The night manager was kind enough to find me another room.
Spooky.
There you have it, listeners. What we call ghosts take many forms.
So that's kind of like a true radio show that the FBC created, or I think it's bought, I'm not positive, to kind of use as like a front to disseminate bad information or make things look shitty. It's just an interesting little subtext. So this is about lockdowns. It's from Marshall to Tomasi, and it's saying basically, so Tomasi's the guy we're going after, right? The guy who wasn't wearing his HRA and I said is a dick. Marshall's the head of operations, who you don't meet until later, and she is a badass. So this says, pay attention, Alberto, Tomasi. This is the last time I'm explaining it. Internal lockdowns are triggered by events that lock one or all of the sectors by restricting use of the elevator, locking staff in their sector until the emergency is handled. They can only be lifted via directorial override. External lockdowns are a bigger deal, nothing in or out of the whole building, only triggered by a code red containment breach, and it can only be lifted once the threat has been neutralized and a high clearance individual gives the all clear. They're not the same thing. I know it's confusing as hell. I called Darling 100 times to change it, but he's adamant they stay the way it is. Make sure our staff understands. So again, this is one of the things where it doesn't particularly matter, but it is telling you that even the internal staff doesn't completely understand the way the lockdown process works. It tells you that even the heads of the departments are sometimes confused by the lockdown process, which, like I said, isn't vital information, but it is a lot of flavor text because it tells you a lot about the way this building is, this branch of the government, which is what this really is, runs. Like, even within this branch of the government, they don't always understand what the fuck they're doing. Which is good, because early on in the game, you're like, oh cool, I'm going to save these people, but by the end of the game, you're kind of like, these people are not all good people. Some of them might be better off dead. I might be okay with that. I am going to get my butt kicked in this room, I can feel it. So I need to run around and find some health. The little blue thing is an enemy I killed, but I need to not get hit by anything because the fact that my vision is red means that I am on the brink of death. But obviously I'm not on the brink of death anymore. So the good thing about throwing stuff is it stuns those enemies for a second. I don't know if you noticed that, but it gives me time to figure out what the hell I'm doing. Alright, so there's an object there, and there's a file here. This one's kind of entertaining. Not that entertaining, but kind of entertaining. If you go down to data breach, it says there was an intrusion, we were hacked, people got various portions of Dr. Darling presentations, we tracked them back, these are their names, we put them under surveillance. That's just cute because what actually happened is there was a code, like a secret hidden on the website for this game before it came out. And if you successfully hacked that code, you got a video that was part of presentations by Dr. Darling, where he's explaining things about the game. It's called like Dr. Darling's Lost Presentation or something. So people who hacked the code got that presentation. And they also got their name listed in the video game. Those are all the people who actually broke the code on the website in the real world. So it's kind of a cool way to like say hi to the fans and be like, you did something good, we're happy for you. And that ugly motherfucker is Tomasi. Screw that guy, man.
Great.
So, I fight him, but I think he spawns a bunch of other enemies to cover his butt while I'm fighting him as well. Oh yeah, and he hits super hard. Ow! Why did I let myself get hit twice by you? I'm so not smart. So he dodges too. So when I'm like pulling things up to hit him with them, I can hit him while he's prepping things to launch at me, while I'm prepping things to launch at him. If I throw it, there's a chance that he'll just ignore my attack and be hit by it, which is good because I need the fucking health from him. But there's also a chance that he won't ignore the attack and that he'll just dodge out of the way. In which case, I've done myself no good. This might be the part where I die. This might be the first death you see from me. Because he's up there throwing shit at me this whole time, and I've got to run through this open area. Also, notice how that whole pillar is just, like, gone. So the red lines tell me where the hiss spawns, which is useful too, because then I can kind of figure out where I can expect enemies to be. Screw you, Tomasi. So there's a file there. I want it. I want the file. Get the file, get the file, get the file. Okay, tea time. I don't know. What does it say? Probably something pointless. Tea time. Your tea time's at 7. Have you heard about the Tennyson report? There's a bunch of copies. Trench is looking to get his hands on any information. See you Sunday, Jim. So this is the thing, and I don't know if I ever find the Tennyson report, but it's like there's this report that Trench is angry that it got made, and everyone's worried that they're going to lose their job if he finds out who wrote it. But I don't know if they ever say who wrote it. But that's all like background text. You don't really need to know anything about that. Not if you want to. Yeah, they would like me. So this whole time I'm like trying to stay behind pillars so I don't get hit by Tomasi, while still killing all the enemies that spawn around Tomasi. Like this guy. Hey, chucklehead, die. I think there was one behind me there too. Just want to get more health. I'm like really worried about dying here. I'm not doing so good, man. I swear I thought there was one back here. I thought I saw somebody. Not just in my head. It was just in my head. You probably saw some frame rate loss there. That happens. This game is pretty intensive as far as like processing power goes, and my PS4 only does so much. See, he just keeps dodging me, so it's like one of those things you gotta run the risk of him shooting stuff at you, and if you do run that risk, it's the only way to hit him. Oh, there is someone next to me. Why, hello there! I thought I'd imagined you. Oh, yep. And that's me dead. That happens a lot in this game, I gotta be honest. It actually, weirdly, it's one of those games that kind of gets easier the more you play it. Not because you get better at it, but because you get better weaponry and better attack options. I can levitate stuff now, whereas I couldn't at the beginning of the game. So you just, the more you play, the more options you have. And by the end of the game, your playstyle is really different than when you start. Like right now, I've got to run around on foot, and I'm launching stuff, but I'm only launching stuff when I'm out of ammo. By the end of the game, you have so many options on how to attack and how to move around that it's just a completely different gameplay style. And you'll see, like, these rooms look really, like, tall and oppressive, and the blocks are heavy, and all that's true when you're stuck on the ground. You're not always stuck on the ground. And once you're not stuck on the ground, it has a very different tone. It looks like a jungle gym is what it looks like. So, I'm going to let this one go for now. I think I've been streaming for like a full hour, so this is probably going to be an hour-long video. So I'll press X so I can kind of save that progress, even though by dying and restarting here I just saved it, basically. And this will be the first of the videos that go up. Hopefully, this was a high enough quality audio and video experience that you kind of had some fun watching. I'll go ahead and review it and send you a link, and like I said, for people who are not my mother, I'll link some of the Dr. Darling and Trench presentations and the Threshold Kid presentations somewhere in this at a later point, so you guys can see those. So if you do want to go through that audio, you definitely can. There's also a wiki if you want to read all of the reports and stuff, if that's something that's interesting to you. Because I'm a dweeb, I think it's flippin' awesome. But anyway. Alright, it was fun. I love you, Mom. I hope you're having a good day, and everybody who's not my mom, I love you too. Bye.